Hello and welcome to the video for Monday for After Effects Week 16. So we have a couple presentations for you to check out, one from Eric and Quentin, and you can click on these links here and watch their presentations. Slideshows, just kind of click through them, read the information, check out the pics, and then you can log into the class website and go to the forum, please, and put some comments in there. Give them some feedback about all their hard work. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. We also have a couple tutorials for you to do today. Cut an object with masks, and this one is the kind of tutorial that you're used to, the standard tutorial where you download the files and watch the video. The second one is a little different. This one, it's in a similar format, but there's no video with it. So in other words, you get these files, but then you have to scroll down and basically just read the steps and go ahead and follow along with the steps that they outline in order to create this infographic. And then there's a video of the final thing. So this one's more like the kind of lessons that you would do in your book. So also we have a video, which is what you're watching right now. And I'm continuing to work with this graphic, which I'm calling the Peace Heart vector graphic, and also with this video that I have. And of course, you can make your own After Effects project and just work with this and that. But if I go to After Effects here, just a little reminder, this is the video I'm working with, and at the very beginning, there's just some dead air, just some dead space, because there's a long intro to this video, and the student I work with who created this video initially, she put a credit for herself coming down with the sun at the beginning, and I think most credits for things like this happen at the end, so I'm thinking maybe of moving her credit to the end of the video. There's some dead air, some dead space there as well. But for right now, I'll leave the sun in here, but I wanted to spice this front of this up with a few more things. And so, if we just watch this quickly, if I just hit my space bar to play it, I'll just play the intro a little bit. So I'm going to stop there. So just those first few seconds, but even this part where it basically comes in with the name of the song and then this little stuff here. So there's this intro stuff, and there's not a lot going on. There's that little sun. What I was thinking was maybe I could use some more graphics from this Peace Heart. And specifically, I'm thinking maybe these little birds here, these little doves, and maybe somewhere, maybe in that section or somewhere else, use the flowers as well. Maybe see if I could make them sort of scale up and scale down, sort of to the beat of the music, was one idea. And then the other idea is maybe I could take these little doves and put them on some kind of motion paths so that they'd be like the little cars we did in an exercise near the beginning of the semester that just kind of, I think we did an exercise where we had some cars on a mountain road and we made them, attach them to a motion path. If not, there are motion path exercises in the book, and we may have done some this semester as well off of the website. But anyway, if you open this Peace Heart graphic, and you can get there, let's see, you can go to vecteasy.com and type love and peace, or the easy way to get there is there's a link right here to it. But if we go into Adobe Illustrator and we open this up, you see that it's all basically one graphic. And then there's this yellow background, which you can delete right away. Oops. Looks like I moved everything around and got rid of some of my background colors and stuff. Like, for example, if you get rid of this, now you've got all this. But apparently there's, it's kind of broken apart in some ways already, because, if you move it, you get rid of some of the colors of things. So, these oftentimes, or almost always, have to be ungrouped. And then when you ungroup them, you can get to the individual pieces, right? So this is the one bird, but notice that he's got little pieces as well. So what you have to do is, after you ungroup everything from each other, you have to take the section that you want to get and you have to group that as well, so that all the pieces of the bird are together, basically. Now I don't need to get this bird and this bird. If I want two birds, I can always just flip this guy over. Okay, so there's our little bird, and now we want to bring him into After Effects. So let's take and copy this bird and create a new file. Oh, let's make it a giant file. Sorry about that. Ooh, uh, maybe not this file. So it always keeps the last settings that you had. And the last setting I had made 2 giant tabloid artboards, which was too much, right? So we'll do this, and we'll say that we just want a regular, like, 8.5 by 11 page, and we'll hit create. And, oh my God, I don't know what I'm smoking, but somehow I said I wanted like 30 million artboards. Okay, 3 times the charm. What is the deal? 7. Why 7? Oh, it was probably the default for what I had set last time for this. So, wow, craziness. Okay, there we go. So then we had copied that bird, and we paste him in here. Now, if you click on your artboard tool right here, you can sort of crop this guy in, because we don't want him to be any bigger than necessary. Okay, there we go. There's our little bird. So now we're going to save this guy. And we'll just call him bird.ai. Okay, so I'm going to go save this guy. I'm going to save it in the same folder where I'm doing the music video, so everything's together. Just call this guy bird.ai and just use the defaults. Okay, and then let's go into here. We can file, import file. Let's go down to the same folder. There's the bird. Let's see how he comes in and what he looks like. Okay, so there's the bird. So if we drag him onto here, we get him. He creates his own layer, and we get him, and he looks kind of squirrely, low res, and that's because we have our setting here at quarter, which is quarter of the full resolution. And if we set this to full, we'll see that he looks good. But with quarter, we're able to move much more quickly in the processing of this video, the production of the video. So what I can do is work in this, and then always go back and check like I just did to make sure it looks good. And then when I want to preview it, I can check it and make sure it looks good. Okay, so we've got our bird here, and one of the things we want to do is check the size of him relative to everything else. If he looks good size-wise. And it might be fun to do something like have him fly, up sort of diagonally across the sky, and then basically flip him over and, have another guy fly across. Maybe they'll just cross paths going across the sky. So that would mean that, we have to get the timing right and everything. But certainly at the very beginning of the video, he's going to be off the stage. And then, at a certain point, he's going to be off the stage up here. So he's going to start out down here, and then he's going to end up off here. So one way we can do this, what I like to call backwards animation, is you start with where the character is going to end up, and you put him there, and then you just work backwards from there. So the question for me is, do I want this bird to fly by before the sun comes out? And it seems like that makes sense to me. So he would have to have his path completed by this point right here, which is approximately 4 seconds in, 4:16. And so what I can do is I can open him up and open up his transform, and I can, at 4:16, I can put him up here off the screen, right? Now, right now, we're seeing this at 137. So I wonder what 100% would look like. Okay, that's what I was hoping we'd be able to see off the screen here. Um, okay, so I mean, we could just put a position keyframe in and put him over there. We could go back to the beginning and put a position keyframe here. And one thing that would happen is, you know, we wouldn't even necessarily need a motion path, a motion guide for this, because he's just pretty much going in a straight line and he's already kind of angled in such a way that that could work. So let's see if we can just do that without a motion guide. So like I said, if I take him and I put him, you know, let's say we're going to have him go at approximately this angle. Let's put him up here. And let's give him a position keyframe there. And then let's go back to the very beginning of the video. And let's grab him and drag him down here. You can see the motion guide being created for us. And what I'm going to try and do is, you know, I'm looking at sort of the angle that he's at, and I'm just going to try and create it in such a way that he continues at that angle. So I'll do this, and of course I could rotate him a little bit if I need to. And of course it creates a keyframe there for me, right? Now also, but I know that I don't want him to come out at the very snap beginning of the video, because then it would be like, well, okay, look at that. Look at how fast that thing goes, right? Also, I may want to drag him down behind the clouds to start out with, but let's start by playing this and see. You know, we know there's 4 seconds till the sun comes in, and maybe we'd want 2 seconds of clouds coming in and then 2 seconds of him flying across. But you also have to think about the speed at which he's flying. Maybe it's going to be way too fast. In 2 seconds, have him zip across that screen. Maybe we actually want him to fly in front of the sun. You know, I have a feeling this is going to be way too fast. So let's hit the play button. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so a couple things happened. First of all, he disappeared off the screen before the sun was really on there enough. So that tells me that what I want to do is move this keyframe back a little bit, maybe, so that he, you know, he disappears off the page. Well, let's see. I'm sorry. That was incorrect. I actually want to make it longer, right? I want him to be on the screen a little longer to give the sun time to come in. So if I just click on this and move it, you know, over incrementally, that'll make it so that, you know, he goes off this, let's see, he goes off the stage and then the sun basically comes in. So that's what we want. Now then, I also know, I know for a fact I don't want him to start right at the very beginning. So, you know, I could pull him in a little bit there and see, I want the clouds to come out. You know, I sort of want the clouds to come out. It's like, you know, there's a concept of staging where one thing happens, then the next thing, then the next thing. And that's easy for people to follow, you know, visually and sound wise and everything. It's like dominoes. You press one, the next one hits, the next one hits. So what I'm thinking is clouds, and the clouds come out and then they hit a stopping point, which is right about here. So maybe it's clouds and then it's the bird, right? You know, sort of after the clouds have stopped, maybe I can do him right there. And then, of course, he does his little path and then this, right? Now, I also talked about pushing him, bringing him down behind the clouds, which we'll do in just a second. But let's just see what the running order of this looks like. Okay, that works for me. So now we got to figure out where the clouds are now. Of course, let's see, clouds front right, clouds front left, right here. Okay, so we could close this up so it's easier to move, and we could grab the whole thing, grab the whole layer, and then drag it down below the cloud layers. And then we can preview this. And of course, we can open this up so we can make changes to it. So let's hit play again. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. You know, once again, it's filling up a dead air or empty space, which is kind of what I wanted. And I like the idea of two of them, you know, sort of crossing paths right here. So I kind of like the idea of duplicating this um, layer right here and basically just flipping the bird, flip somebody the bird. That's what my dad used to say. Uh, when you, well, anyway, uh, I think you get the picture. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll first copy this, and then I'll have to transition the bird so he's facing the other way, and then I'll have to reposition these things so that it's going the other way as well. So we've got the bird file, and of course you want to make sure you're good with that. That's the way you want it before you copy it. And you know what I'll do is let's see. Let me see if I can mute the sound in this so we don't have to listen to the song every time that we play this. So let's see. That's going to be a trick because I got to figure out. Oh, here it is down here. So let's see what we got to do. I got to move my whole thing here because I've got a little recorder button over here you guys can't see. But if I go ahead and I click on that, which is the mute button, I'm thinking that when I play this, we won't have to listen to the song anymore. We can just watch the visuals. So let's see if that's correct. Yeah. Okay, so I like that. So okay, so now it's time to work with the bird. Where the heck did the bird go? Oh my God, there's so many layers here. It's like jumping in on somebody else's project. You think your projects are hard. Jumping in on somebody else's project is very difficult because you got to figure out where everything is. Anyway, so we've got this bird layer here. We can do Command D or Control D on the PC to make a new bird layer, and we have that right there. And now we can take this one and swap it to go the other direction. Okay. Okay, so one of the things I want to do definitely is normally I believe After Effects will when you make a copy of something, it will name it copy. It's kind of strange here that it didn't do that, but that's okay. I'll click on this and hit my return key, and I'll just call this bird copy and hit enter. And so now we basically have two tracks where the two birds are both, they're basically right on top of each other, animating the same way. So on the bird copy layer, we got to do two things. We got to move these to the opposite sides of the stage, and then we got to flip the bird, right? So the first thing to do, probably the easiest thing to do, would be just to move these. So at the very beginning here, we've got this bird, which we want to move over here. Now it looks like it's, unfortunately, because this is a motion path, it thinks I want to start there and then move over here. So it gave me this crazy motion path anchor point here, which is not really what I want, but that's okay. We can make that work. So then we got to move this one over here. We got to take this thing and sort of straighten it out. And so we can get a similar type of motion going this way as we have going the other way. Now the other thing we have to do is flip the bird over. And so to do that, as long as we have the bird selected, we can go over here under Layer, Transform, and Flip Horizontal. And that should move the bird so that he's going this direction, right? Now, also, obviously I have to do something with my timing here because this guy is coming out right out of the gates, and you don't even see that other guy yet. He doesn't even come till right here. So what that means is we got to open both these layers and see where the heck the where the keyframes are, the animation keyframes. It looks like the problem is this second bird. He's got this first thing here, which is starting here, and that's why he's starting so early. So let's go down here and see what we can see. Okay, and you can see that these are dots as opposed to these diamonds, and the diamonds are the keyframes. So the dots show you that there's keyframes buried under there, but you got to open up a few more layers to see them. In this case, we have to open the transform on the bird copy layer. And then you can see that there's this extra keyframe here, which we just really don't want. So what we have to do is delete the extra keyframe. Um, and we want to make it so that at this point right here, this bird has to be in the same location as that other bird. In fact, if I think about it, maybe it would have made more sense to delete the center keyframe because that was the extra point that we got right in there. So let me do Command Z because I think this keyframe is the bird in the correct position. So let's see if we delete this keyframe here, right? And then we grab the playback head and we hover it over, we put it right on top of the diamond. And then we grab this starting keyframe and we move it, right there. Now, theoretically, these guys are starting at the same time and ending at the same time. The angles may be slightly off, but, we'll have to see how that looks. So we can scrub through this and actually look pretty good. I mean, you could take a microscope into it and it might look, you might be able to make them even more perfect. Like I can see this guy's slightly lower than that guy. So what does that mean? Well, that means that he has to get there a little sooner, maybe. So maybe, let's see, we would have to start him sooner. I believe that's right. Start him sooner than that so that he ends up in the right place at the right time. So maybe if we go back to here and grab this thing and just move it a little to the left, and we could try that again. Um, yeah, now he's a little higher. Just from my eyeball, I can see he's a little higher than that other guy. So, this is, it's up to you how much you want to tweak this stuff. But just by moving it over a little, now they're closer together. And nobody would even notice those things. That's just for you. Um, So let's see. So they're crossing like that, and then the sun comes in. So I think that looks pretty cool. So let's see how it looks when we just hit play. So of course we have the music happening, right? And so it's not that big a deal. It's a very tiner, tiny. I was I combined the words tiny and minor. It's a tiner. It's a tiny and minor part of the animation, but all of these things, add up and add to the total effect of the animation. And it's a lot of these little details that will help make your animation really, really fun and really good, right? Now, the other thing that I talked about doing is maybe taking some of the flowers and having them expand, scale up and scale down, maybe to the beat of the music. And for that, we're gonna have to turn the music back on. But and it's kind of weird. I don't think I necessarily want the flowers to be here at the beginning. You could get away with that because certainly these bizarre little guitars come out like this, but they come out sort of after the name of the song. Uh, but what I'm saying is there's a precedent for having weird things in the air up here. So I could put a couple flowers up here. I kind of just like the guitars being there, but it would seem weird to have the flowers at the very beginning because we're basically just up in the sky. So, maybe there's somewhere else in this that the flowers could be. Now here I'm thinking of using like that peace heart, actual heart, or maybe one of the other animations that I worked on to go back here. Um, so let's see, once again, we're in the sky. And then, okay, so it's really just, there's just those two choices really. There's the red background and the sky. And I sort of pictured the flowers being on the sky. So let's do this. Let's put the flowers in right when oh, how about this? How about, so we've got the doves coming out, then the sun. And how about we put the flowers in right here, sort of while the text is jumping in. And then we have them maybe disappear when the guitars come in. So that gives us a little opportunity to do something here. Okay. So basically when that leaves and everybody starts, this is where we'll try to put the flowers in. Okay, so we'll go back to Illustrator. And now we have to grab some flowers. And of course, I can grab just one and I could change the color on that. Or I mean, I have three here that are three different colors, the yellow, the red, and the blue. and I could bring those over, or I could just bring one over and change its color in After Effects, which is, a pretty simple thing to do. But once again, let me grab this flower and let me group everything together because there's different parts of it. You want to make sure you get all of them. And then I'm going to copy this. I'll go over to that little file that I made for the bird and get rid of the bird and paste in my flower. It looks like he's pretty similarly sized, so that's good. I can click on my page artboard icon here and shrink this down a bit. Just get it as close as you can to this. Okay, good. And then click on this, and then there's your image, right? Now we'll go ahead and save this also as an AI in the same location. Hopefully, it'll just open up to that last location that we saved in. Okay, and it looks like it's going to, so we'll just call this one flower. And so it's saving in the same place, so we'll hit save and OK. All right, so back to After Effects, and then file, import file, flower, leave all the stuff down there, and then we can go. I like to work with things up at the top here because they're easier to find. So I'll tend to click the top layer and then either just drag this thing down on top of it, or if you drag something and drag it over here, it's gonna put it. I believe it puts it at the layer above wherever you're located. So that's why selecting the top layer before you drag it over is a good idea. And once again, I always freak out when I see how bad these things look when they come in. But just quickly switch to full resolution to put your mind at ease, and then you can, heave a sigh of relief, and then go back to your crappy quarter resolution. Okay, so here it is, and I'm thinking that I might like to hold down my Shift key and click one of these corner handles here, and I don't want these. I guess I don't want these flowers to be overpowering, and that's kind of a huge overpowering flower right there. I guess I just kind of want it to be. My idea is like, what if there were 4 of them or something like that? So they're kind of framing the words, and then they disappear, and these 2 guitars come in. So let's see what that looks like. So I can grab this and kind of move it through here and see what that looks like. And I think it looks okay. So one of the things I want to do is as soon as that sun is out of there, right there, I want to go ahead and open my transform, and I want to put a now I could put a position keyframe here, which would be fine, but I also want to set my in point here, which is where basically where I want this to come in. Oops. So let me go back up there. I lost my cue. Oops, right there, kind of. Okay, well, let's do the position, which will help us out. And then we can go ahead and make it so that this thing doesn't even appear on the stage until right here. And the way you can do that is you just kind of hover over this, let's see, hover over the beginning part of this till it becomes a double-headed arrow, and then hold your Shift key down and come over here to where the playback head is. And when you hold your Shift key down, it locks it to the playback head. So now there's no flower until that point, and then the flower just kind of pops in, right? So we just had the sun rotating. Normally I would think that would be a pretty obvious thing to have these flowers do, is just rotate. But because the sun was just rotating, like I said, I think I'd like to do this kind of pulsing thing. Now, if I want to do a pulsing thing, that means that the flowers are going to scale up and scale down, which means I have to decide how big they're going to get. Well, let's assume that this is the biggest that I want them to get. So that's the biggest that it's going to get. And then we'll have to have it shrink and then scale back up. And then we're going to try and do it in time with the music. So, one thing that we can do, we go all the way down here to where the music is. And that is, let's see, looks like this wave right here. So we turn the music back on. And then, sorry about this, I have to keep moving my browser around here. We want to open this up. We want to open audio and we want to open waveform. And one of the things that you can see about the waveform is you should be able to see where these spikes are, these peaks, and those are the beats, basically. So everywhere where there's a spike up is a beat. So that would mean that I would want to have, the flower be big on this beat and then go down where the spike goes down and then come up again on the next beat. So, I could have that flower essentially be scaled at 100% right there. And then go, I'm going to go back up here to my flower. And of course, I have to do a scale keyframe as well. And then I got to move this down to where I think the next sort of valley is. So that would be sort of here. Okay. And then maybe, just for grins, maybe make that thing go down 50%. Now you can see here that, from when I brought it in, it's been scaled up to 155. So I don't want to put I want to put half of that essentially. So let's see, 155. So that would be 50 plus about 27. So about 77-ish. So let's see if I put in a 77 here and hit tab. So that gets kind of small right there. And that's just my scale, right? Then I go back down here to my waveform. And I go over to where the next peak is. And then that's where I want it to be back at the 155.4 or whatever the heck that was. I think it was 0.4. I don't know. It's close enough. Anyway, okay, so now I've got a very quick boom, bat, down, up kind of thing, right? And one of the things I notice also about my first scale thing here is it's not directly lining up with the first beat. It's actually a little before it. So, it would be nice if I could move it over a little bit. Now, one way you can do that is we could take this here, this playback, and we could line it up with what we can see of the waveform here. And by the way, you can click this little dot here and move to the right and just try and make things a little bigger. That'll make it easier to see this, but also see the scale keyframes. And so now that's essentially right where it should be. And if I go all the way up to the top here, this scale keyframe, and I can try and make this even wider like this, right? This scale keyframe should basically be here, something like that. And you can see that this is probably more accurate because it's a regular rhythm, right? And so the space between this and this and this and this should be fairly consistent. So there should be the same amount of space there that there is there. So, it's a little bit of a trick to try to get it perfect, but we'll see how that works. Now, so it's going to be kind of hard to tell on just one beat, boom, 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 how it's doing. We might have to repeat that a few times and then make adjustments there. But let's just see real quick if we start it back here, if we can tell how close we are to being on the beat. So it's just super hard to tell. So unfortunately, that means we have to copy these. Oops. So I'll just highlight the 3 of those. I'll do copy. And then I'll just go down here to where I think is the next place where this would occur. And I can always double check it against my, beats here. But so let's see. It was big, small, big. So the next one should actually be small. So actually, I don't want to copy all three of these. I want to copy the last two, um, and then paste that in here. Okay, so now we've got big, small, big, right? And then, I mean, I could keep going for a while. You know, it depends on how much faith you have in what you've done so far, because you're going to have to make adjustments to it if it's not perfect. So I'm just, you know, I just want to give myself enough so that I can tell how I'm doing. And that should be plenty, right? And it's probably going to be a little off because it's a lot of guesswork right here, but let's see. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So it's moving a lot quicker um, than the beat, you know, because the beat is boom, bum, boom, bum. You know, it seems like it's maybe going twice as fast. So maybe I could add twice as much space in between each of these. Now that's a little bit of a trick. How do you do that? Um, so let's see. I can see where this thing is right here and put my playback head there, right? And then I can grab all of these and move them over so that this starts there, right? Okay, then I could move this over to where basically here. So in other words, I'm skipping every other beat to try to give myself a sense of cutting the time of this in half, right? And once again, I have zero idea how well this is going to work out. I'm just spitballing it like you would be. I mean, you could go in and you could be much more methodical about this, but come on, we're creative people. We're not methodical. We just throw things together, don't we? Well, that's not true. Not all of us. But anyway, okay, let me try these last few ones. And once again, you could save yourself a lot of time by just doing one or two of these and getting it perfect and then making everything else work. Um, and I can see up there that this is not a very long period of time that these are going to run because the guitar's already in there, which means I'm probably, you know, basically out of time already. But what the heck? What have I got to lose? And then this last one, you know, this is just a total guess, but try to create the same amount of space here that is between all of them. So once again, we try again, see if it's at halftime, if it's any closer. Okay, actually, I don't think it's too bad. Although I do think that it's a little slow, which means that the time between each of these needs to get a little smaller. So you could, you know, click each one of these and move them down so that the spacing in between them is a little slower. Try to maintain a sort of a consistent spacing. You know, and once again, this is just a lot of messing around to try and get the desired effect. So I'm selecting each subsequent group as a marquee by just going around it and trying to bring each one in a little closer. So let's see if that's any better. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I think I like most of them except for that first one. That first one really throws me. It just seems to come in at a weird place. Let me see that again. Yeah, it like comes in too soon. Like it comes in before the beat. So, you know, I might be happy with this. I could just eliminate that first one, which would be one method, but let me try just moving it over. I'll see if I can get any happier with it. Yeah, it's also just, maybe it's just kind of weird that it just pops up in there. And the other thing is, it doesn't pop up on the beat either. You know, it's like, let me see what happens. Yeah, it pops up right before the beat, which is very bizarre. So let me try something here. What if we just eliminate this first one? Because I'm pretty happy with the other guys. You know, it means it starts out small and then gets big, but let's see what happens with this. Oh, so what's weird is just, okay, the weird thing is just that the flower comes on. So let me bring that one back in. It's just, you know, even that small one looked weird. It was just like, what the heck? Okay, I'm just going to live with that. You know, I can always go in and make it transparent and then make it fade in, which might be a little smoother of a transition. But let's say we just live with that. Now, I have to decide if I want this to go longer, and if I do, then I have to copy these and make them go longer. So it might be cool to make them go longer, make them go, basically the length of the guitars, and then they could scoot on up while the guitars scoot down. And then also, instead of putting them on four sides, maybe I'll just put the two of them at the top. So what that means is I have to extend this until basically this point where the guitars are going to go down, which is close to 17 and a half. So what I have to do is I have to go here and see, what is this? This is a big one. So I have to go down to where there's a small one, like here. And then I have to copy these. So Command C. I have to go down to where I think the next logical place is that this would be. And I have to paste those in. And of course, I'm probably going to go past my desired time here. But there's one that comes in right around 17 and a half, which is good. So I could get rid of these guys, because remember, these are scale, and we'd want to move position at the end there, just to right around here, just have it start to jump up to fade to the top. But let's see how this works if this goes long enough for the guitars to come in. Right there. Okay. So there, we want to do a position keyframe. So it looks like we got a position keyframe, at the very beginning of this, which is that bad boy, right? So now we can set another position keyframe, which will set that right there. And then we simply have to make it so we figure out when the guitars are completely gone. It's basically there when they're below the clouds. And we go down there, and then we grab the flower and we lift it up so that it's completely gone by that time. So that means, and it makes a new keyframe for us. So that means that as these guitars are fading down, this guy is fading, moving up. I say fading down, but it's actually just moving down, right? And that guy's moving up. Okay, and so now, we've got this the way we want it, and we just need to make a copy and change the position so that it's over here, right? So let's watch it one more time. Make sure everything's groovy. Yeah, so I'm thinking, that thing coming in, it's just freaking me out so badly. It's just like, boom, it's there. So, and I can see that, this is probably part of the problem right here, is that, yeah, see, it comes on before it starts to do any little thing here. So maybe if I just move this down to here, grab this, hold on to my shift key and snap that over there. And of course I could grab this position guy and move it over here as well. Maybe life will be better now. Let's see. Yeah, definitely better. Okay, good. I'm glad I saw that. I was going to try and do some kind of opacity thing where it fades in, but I like it better just coming in like that. Okay, so now we've got this flower and it's looking good. So once again, we can click on it and we can do Command D on the Mac or Control D on the PC. We have to rename this thing. Oops, I double clicked on it and went into what's called layer edit mode, and I don't really want to be in that. So I'll click on this and hit return, and I'll just call this flower copy. Okay, now that one is in exactly the same location as the other one, right? So all we have to do is change the position of this position keyframe so that it's over here. So if we put our mouse over this and we basically drag it to the right, see, we're going to get that crazy animation again, because it always thinks, that you want to start at that starting point and then you want to move over here. That means we're going to do the same thing we did last time, which is probably get rid of the middle frame on that, and then do the rest of that. So let's see. Okay, so we want that to be there, and then so we can look at these numbers here, at this point here, it's gonna, if we take our playback head and we move it to this point here, it's gonna come back to the original position because that's where it was in the one we copied it from, right? So that means what we actually want to do is we actually want to delete probably both these keyframes, and then well, actually, let me do something here. Let me see where that is. Let me delete one at a time so I can remember where they are. So I'm going to delete this keyframe here, okay? And then what I'm going to do is here, let me just put a position keyframe in here, even if it's the wrong numbers, just to sort of know, well, exactly where that is, right? Now, actually, you know what? I have a better idea. Since I know this is right above that, what I can do is copy this keyframe, which is in the right position. It's in the right starting position, which is over here. I hope this isn't too confusing. Let me go back just to show you what I mean. So this keyframe is that. So it's in the right position. So if I copy that keyframe and then I go down to here and I paste that keyframe in, that means that in both of these places, it's in the right location, right? The only thing that's kind of jacked is this, where it wants to go all the way up there. But of course, you know, I have my choice of how I want to adjust this. One of the easiest things to do is just drag it over and make it be like that, right? Okay, so now we see both of them kind of jumping off like that, right? Now we still have this weird thing that we have to deal with, which is that, ooh, well, this is nice. That weird little stutter step where it went from here over there, it seems to have disappeared, which I'm pretty happy about. So that seems to be working okay, but let's check it out. Okay, that works really good. I'm really happy with it. So, you know, and there's more I could do. I could, you know, when looking at this, I'm kind of missing the flowers at the bottom. You know, I had talked about having 4 flowers on there, but of course, if the flowers at the bottom, I guess they could be done in such a way that they're not interfering with the guitars, but I think it would be too much, you know, visual noise if there's a flower here and a guitar there. So I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Make sure that I save my project, right? Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you today. You know, once again, I'm taking this existing project and using it as an experiment, like as a lab experiment, to try all these different techniques, and hopefully you can pick up a few things from this. You know, so today we worked with the motion paths, which is really just animating positions, and of course it makes these motion paths, which you can click on and add more anchor points to, and then, you know, vary and change the paths of your objects. In this case, it was easy because we've got these, we didn't even have to rotate these guys. They're kind of angled correctly, and we just basically duplicated them. And then, of course, we're doing the scale thing with these little flower icons. And of course, if we want to see this, you know, at full resolution, we can watch each of the 2 sections here. Oops, that's pretty funny. Okay, so I just rendered this far and then didn't want to go that far. Okay, well, that's okay. We know what that looks like. All right, anyway, so please go ahead and do the 2 tutorials that are listed here for today. Check out the presentations. Once again, here's the link to that piece art graphic. And then please work on project 3. The deadline for that is May 6th. And as far as chapters in the book go, should be up to around chapter 14 if you've done a chapter a week. If not, just try and catch up. We've got about 3 more weeks in the semester, so you got some time. It says you do not have to do chapter 15 in the book about rendering files because you've been doing that all semester. So chapter 15 is the one I've been talking about that you guys don't have to worry about. Okay, so best of luck with all that, and I will talk to you again in the video on Wednesday.